Hello everyone, we're here live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and I guess that's it.
Yeah, no more.
We're here with Laura from Colombia. How are you, Laura?
I'm really good. Hi, everyone. How are you, Reza?
Not bad, not bad. I'm Reza, I'm licensed immigration consultant here in Toronto. It's very cold, in case you're wondering, and I think the weather in Colombia is much better, Laura, right?
It depends because today is a sunny day and a hot day, so.
Perfect, perfect. So we're gonna cover, the theme today is Express 2022, Express Entry 2022. We're gonna talk about what changes to expect, what the draws, federal skilled worker, Canadian experience, and of course a few tips and tricks for all you folks there who are contemplating of going into the express entry system pool, or are already in the pool waiting for either an invitation or for the applications to be finally processed. So let's get to it. Ready, Laura?
Yeah, ready.
Perfect. So the first thing, everybody knows about the upcoming NOC Code structure change, which was announced by Service Canada last year, that they plan to implement a brand new NOC Code in October or November 2022. Don't be surprised if there's delays in implementation of that NOC Code. But if not, the earliest we expect it is October or November 2022. Obviously, the entire system of express entry is based on NOC Code work experience. NOC Codes, if you're not familiar with it, is the National Occupation Classification System, whereby the Canadian government categorizes each and every single occupation based on skill level and other details, which turn out to be a a 4-digit NOC code that identifies your occupation, and you can claim work experience in the express entry pool and other immigration programs. So that's the first thing that most of you already expect for 2022, and we're going to jump into some other little details and what we expect in terms of how many points should you have in 2022 to be selected or invited inside or outside of Canada. What about federal skilled worker program? When will the draws really start? There's a lot of rumors, but we're going to put an end to all those rumors. So we're going to have a bilingual session today. Laura, let our Spanish viewers know what we're going to talk about before we jump in.
Ok. Hola a todas las personas de habla hispana. El día de hoy vamos a estar hablando, que no hemos como dicho todavía el título en español, acerca del Express Entry en 2022. Entonces vamos a estar hablando de algunos tips o algunos trucos que se pueden tener en cuenta cuando se vayan a realizar la aplicación o cuando ya se ha recibido la invitación. Entonces vamos a estar hablando de todo eso. Y el primer punto que vamos a tener en cuenta es el de los códigos NOC, que son los códigos que se tienen en cuenta ya para todo lo que tiene que ver con el trabajo. Por ejemplo, si yo tengo una profesión, entonces cumplo con un número específico de código que vendría siendo un NOC específico. Entonces, todos sabemos que este NOC, va a haber un cambio en el NOC por parte de Canadá, y lo más probable es que sea en octubre o noviembre del 2022. Entonces puede retrasarse, pero pues esa es como más o menos lo más probable, la fecha, octubre o noviembre, y toca tener en cuenta cuáles van a ser esos cambios de lo del NOC, y ya eso vendría sucediendo durante el 2022. Entonces toca verificarlo varias veces cuando se vaya a realizar la aplicación del Express Entry, y toca esperar a que ocurra ese cambio. Ahora lo que vamos a tocar a continuación, pero primero Reza va a decirlo en inglés, es acerca de lo que esperamos en términos de sorteos. ¿Cuándo van a empezar los sorteos para el Federal Skilled Worker y el Canadian Experience Class? Entonces vamos a estar hablando de eso en inglés y después yo estaré diciéndolo en español.
Perfect, Laura. Thanks everyone for joining us today. And again, we're going to jump into a few things to watch out for in express entry and what you should expect for 2022 express entry. So remember, when the NOC code system changes at the end of this year, earliest, they may convert the NOC codes for the express entry applicants already in the pool automatically to the new NOC code. Be very careful, because the express entry system may make a mistake because it's a little bit glitchy. So if you have a NOC code, whatever it is, and they automatically convert to the new one, you have to go check manually to make sure it's the correct NOC code, because the new code, because you have to check the job description and skill level for that new NOC code, see if it matches to the previous NOC code that you had originally selected, whereby you entered the express entry pool. So watch out for that. That's going to be a little bit of an internal conversion. And remember the golden rule of immigration: don't trust the government. So that's the best advice we can give you for that part. So Laura, why don't you take us through that in Spanish before we jump into the next point?
Okay, perfect. Antes de hablar sobre las fechas de los sorteos y todo, estábamos retomando un poco lo del NOC, y es que algo que es muy importante tener en cuenta y ponerle atención es que el NOC, cuando sea ya diferente y todo, va a convertirse automáticamente dentro del sistema, va a convertirse automáticamente a los dos otros códigos. Entonces, para las personas que están en el pool y tienen un NOC y pues va a ocurrir ese cambio, lo ideal es que verifiquen que ese cambio sí sea correcto, porque como saben, su sistema puede tener fallas, así que al hacer ese cambio puede que entre en una categoría que no es o en una ocupación que no es, así que es mejor no confiar, ser prevenido y revisar la aplicación, y en caso de que haya algún error, hacerlo manualmente y hacer ese cambio. Entonces es mejor verificar cuando ocurran esos cambios a la hora de hacer la aplicación.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. So what about the draws? The big question here is the $1 million question. When will federal skilled worker draws continue or restart? And the next $1 million question is, what points should I have? Like, what should be my point level, the CRS, to be selected for permanent residency? And we're going to cover that today. Federal skilled workers, there's two theories out there. And of course, there are theories, nobody else's theories. One is they may restart sometime in March or April, okay? For federal skilled worker draw. The next theory says they will not restart it that soon. Why? It's because they're so backlogged with all these applications that are stuck trying to process all these people from 2020, 2021, that they cannot handle new applications for federal skilled worker now. So they may delay it up to September, October, November. So that's another theory. Doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. We expect that potentially they will process the backlog of the old federal skilled worker applications who had already received ITAs in 2020 and 2021. When that's done, they will restart the federal skilled worker draws. Potentially that could be April, May, or June. Right? If they don't restart it, then that means the new TR to PR program for international students and essential workers would probably be reopened this year. But if not, and federal skilled worker draw continues and it's restarted this year, then I don't expect the TR to PR pathway to be reopened, and we're just going to stick to express entry. So most likely, anytime between April to June, we expect there should be some new draw on federal skilled worker. But again, it's not 100%. How many points you should have? I expect over 480 in the first draw. Don't shoot the messenger. All I'm saying is based on how many people are in the pool what is it, 190,000 now? I don't know. It's like increasing every day. How many, based on how many people are in there, the competitiveness level, and the capacity of IRCC to process immigration applications, I don't expect the federal skilled worker draw, the first draw, to be less than 480 points. 480. And we will get to CEC, Canadian Experience class, right after. Let's jump into the Spanish version. Laura, take it forward.
Ok, sure. Ahora, retomando el tema en español acerca de los sorteos del Express Entry. Primero vamos a hablar de cuándo van a empezar los sorteos para el Federal Skilled Worker, que es el que se puede aplicar desde afuera y no requiere experiencia canadiense ni nada por el estilo. Así que la primera pregunta es ¿cuándo? Hay dos teorías. La primera es que posiblemente pueda haber un sorteo en marzo, abril o junio. Y la segunda es que probablemente no van a empezar por ahora a abrir aplicaciones, sino hasta de pronto hasta final de año, porque están retrasados con aplicaciones previas del 2020, del 2021, entonces tienen que dar respuesta, dar solución a esas aplicaciones para después poder revisar nuevas aplicaciones. Así que puede que empiece en marzo, abril, junio, o que en este año, sino hasta final de año, abran las aplicaciones por la cantidad que tienen de años previos. Así que esto es una teoría, es importante tenerlo en cuenta. Si no se abre el programa de Express Entry para el Federal Skilled Worker, probablemente se puede abrir el programa de TR to PR, que es como residencia temporal a residencia permanente. Puede que abra, si no se abre el Federal Skilled Worker, o viceversa. Probablemente si se abra ese Federal Skilled Worker, no se abra el programa de residencia temporal a residencia permanente. Eso en cuanto a los tiempos. Ahora, hablando con los puntos, en este momento, ¿cuántos puntos pueden necesitar para las personas que van a aplicar al Express Entry Federal Skilled Worker? Bueno, los puntos son mayores a 480 puntos. Eso es teniendo en cuenta las personas que están en el pool, la competitividad que ahorita están solicitando el gobierno canadiense, así que lo más probable es que no se exija un número menor, sino que de hecho se necesite mucho más de 480 puntos. Eso para Federal Skilled Worker. Ahora vamos a estar hablando del Canadian Experience Class.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. So let's jump to the next point. Canadian Experience Class 2022 Express Entry. When will the draws restart? And what will be the points? It's a tough question, and what we expect is that anytime in the next 2 months, the Canadian Express Entry draws will start. So it could be as soon as first week February, maybe a little bit later, but in the next 4 to 6 weeks, you will see Canadian Express draws. Why? Well, they want to meet, the government wants to meet its annual basically target of permanent resident applicants inside Canada, and they need to start quite quickly with Canadian Experience Class, because especially for inside Canada applicants, because that's one of the easiest processes or applications to process. So we do expect it to restart anytime within the next 4 to 6 weeks. So it could be early February, early March. And the points, we expect the points to be in the 420 to 60 range. I know it's a wide range, 420 to 460, but obviously it's difficult to, give a exact number. 420 to 460 Canadian Experience points in the first round. But the good news is that we expect it to fluctuate. So maybe a few draws on a higher level, one draw lower, and so forth. Don't be surprised at some point during 2022 to see points drop to, again, 370, 375, 360, right? So if you're in the Canadian Experience Class for Express Entry, which means you have a minimum of 1 year work experience, which means 1,560 hours, in a NOC 0A or B, you are going to be in a comfortable position. If you have anywhere from 370 to 420 or 30 or more points, you will at some point be selected this year. So that is probably one of the best programs for applicants inside or outside of Canada who already have 1 year Canadian work experience or will soon accumulate the 1,560 hours for the 1 year. So that is going to be our expectation for express entry. So be ready. And remember, folks, you have to have all your documents ready before you enter the express entry pool. Make sure you pick the right NOC code for the express entry pool in regards to your occupations, both inside of Canada and outside. And remember, why is it called express entry? It's fast for your PR application. And if you make one mistake, they don't come back to you and ask for clarification. They will refuse you and move on to the next application. Why? That's because they have very strict timelines to process express entry applicants. So be careful. And if you don't know what you're doing, of course, we're always here, me, Laura, and the rest of the team to help and guide you. So Laura, tell us what is all that in Spanish?
Ok. Para las personas de habla hispana, aquí retomando en español lo que nos está diciendo Reza acerca del Canadian Experience Class, el sorteo en 2022, lo más probable es que se realice lo más pronto posible, porque ya hay personas que se encuentran pues dentro de Canadá, que cumplen con los requisitos para aplicar a la residencia permanente por medio de este programa, así que el tiempo estimado vendría siendo de 4 a 6 semanas en que se realice un sorteo. Puede que en febrero ya haya un sorteo de estos, así que toca pues estar pendiente para aplicar lo más pronto posible a Canadian Experience Class. Por ahora, los puntos estimados, es difícil sacar como unos puntos estimados, pero más o menos el rango vendría siendo de 420 puntos a 460 puntos para este primer sorteo. Sin embargo, esto puede ir cambiando, puede fluctuar y puede que en sorteos más adelante requieran de menos puntos, 380 puntos, 370 puntos, pero pues va dependiendo durante el año. Así que más o menos, para al menos la primera aplicación, el primer sorteo, lo fundamental es tener puntos más de 420 puntos, más de 460 puntos idealmente. Ya hablando en general para el Express Entry, es muy importante tener todos los documentos al día, actualizados, y también revisar el NOC al que aplicaron, ya sea si está fuera o dentro de Canadá, porque puede que vayan actualizándose o algo por el estilo, así que es importante tener todo claro, porque como saben, el Express Entry es un proceso rápido para que uno tener la residencia permanente de forma rápida. Así que un error puede terminar en un rechazo en lo de la residencia, así que siempre es importante tener todos los documentos al día y revisarlos constantemente. Así que ya saben, nosotros podemos ayudarlos y están interesados, podemos ayudarlos con todo el proceso de residencia, ya sea por Federal Skilled Worker o Canadian Experience Class, siempre y cuando pues se cumplan con todos los puntos establecidos.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. And let's talk about the Provincial Nominee Program draws and express entry. Why do they continue to have PNP draws when all the other programs have stopped? There's a simple answer for that. The provinces have agreements in place with the federal government for their quotas of nominations for the province for their own immigration programs. So the federal government can decide to stop or restart Canadian Experience Class, Federal Skilled Worker, but they cannot force the provinces and be like, oh, by the way, please stop because we don't have enough processing resources. Due to the agreements they have in place, they have to continue to draw for provincial nominee program nominees in the express entry pool in order for the provinces to meet their annual targets and quotas. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of politics which the federal government prefers to avoid. So that's why you're seeing a continuation of PNP throughout COVID, throughout the last year, and even now when you don't see any other kind of draws like CEC or FSW. So that's just a quick clarification, and Laura, let our Spanish viewers also understand that point as well.
Sure, okay. Ya hablamos del Federal Skill Worker y el Canadian Experience Class. Ahora vamos a hablar del PMP, que es el programa de nominación provincial. En este caso, por ahora, el PMP continuará de costumbre. ¿Y por qué este continuará de costumbre y los otros sí han presentado cambios? Pues porque el programa de nominación provincial es específicamente de las provincias, así que el gobierno federal no tiene como un poder para hacer cambios frente a ellos, sino son las mismas provincias las que deciden hacer sus propios programas, sus propios cambios, así que por parte del gobierno federal no va a haber ningún cambio frente a los programas de nominación provincial.
Thank you, Laura. Appreciate it. So, what else can you expect for Express Entry 2022? These are basically the core fundamentals, right? Getting your work experience, getting the NOC code. The future NOC codes will change in October, November 2022. The draws will restart this year for Canadian Experience Class very soon, as we discussed. And federal skilled workers, it's just a matter of time. It could be as early as April to June, or worst case, later this year, but it depends on the backlog of applications. However, based on our information, federal skilled worker applicants who were already selected and invited for PR are starting to be processed now, which is a great sign, and that's why we expect that by mid of this year, federal skilled draw to restart. So that's basically a quick summary before we jump into a few frequently asked questions about Express Entry, which will be valid again this year. We'll do that right after Laura also does this quick summary for us in Spanish.
Okay. Entonces, en resumen, es importante tener en cuenta pues también la parte de la experiencia laboral y como saben, pues el Express Entry es un sistema, entonces igual puede tener fallas, así que si, ya sea para el Canadian Experience Class, si hay alguna... si no se ha completado toda la experiencia canadiense de los 365 días, entonces lo importante es no aceptar la invitación porque tiene que cumplirse un año completo. Y lo más probable, ya hablando en términos generales, de resumen, lo más probable es que para el Federal Skill Worker el programa haya sorteo, o ya saben, para marzo, abril, junio, o si no, hasta final de año. Y para el Canadian Experience Class, en febrero, lo más probable es que haya un sorteo para poder determinar nuevas personas para la residencia permanente.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. So, a few frequently asked questions on Express Entry. One, remember, if you're in Express Entry Canadian Experience Class and you haven't accumulated the 1 year yet, but you've entered your Canadian work experience in progress into your Express Entry profile, you may receive an invitation to apply before your 1 year work experience. If you do receive the ITA before the 365th day of your work experience inside of Canada, please refuse it and do not accept it, because that's a small error in the Express Entry calendar calculation system. So please be careful with that, and that's probably the best advice we can give you at this point. And make sure when they say color scan, when you're uploading your documents, you have to make sure it's a color scan. You do a black and white scan by mistake, it will be a refusal. So those are the two pieces of information that we can give you today. And the third one would be that they will not calculate over 30 hours of work experience for Canada per week. So if you work 35 or 40 or 50 hours, do not count those hours for your work experience. You need a total of 1,560 hours. Okay, so that is very important. Include your pay stubs, which include all your hours, because you need to prove your Canadian work experience is 1,560 hours. If you cannot prove that, the officer may question it. Each case is different, so there should be caution in the way you use this information to apply to your own application. So Laura, let our viewers in Spanish will explain that, and then right after we will jump into the question answer session, which we have every week with our live sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays You can keep track of our schedule on our Instagram, Facebook, and our YouTube channel to know when we come online and we start answering your questions live here for any immigration related matters to Canada.
Okay, Reza, before talk about this instruction in Spanish, can you repeat me the hours for the
yeah, so when you're claiming Canadian work experience, you cannot claim more than 30 hours a week, 30. And if you work 40 hours, 31 hours, 35 hours, that will not make your work experience reach 1,560 hours sooner. So the government will only calculate maximum 30 hours a week for your Canadian work experience for express entry. So if you do 25 hours, that's fine. They'll calculate 25. But if you do 31 or 40 or 50 hours, they will still only calculate 30 hours maximum per week, which means that per week you need to work 30 hours minimum or maximum, sorry, not minimum, maximum, in order to gain 1,560 hours within 52 weeks of the year. However, remember, you can accumulate that over more than a year, right? So it can take you 2 years to gain 1 year work experience in different occupations. But you cannot gain 1 year work experience by working for 10 months at an accelerated rate. It's clear, Laura?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Antes de pasar a responder las preguntas que nos están haciendo en el chat, vamos a retomar un poquito lo que les estaba diciendo sobre una falla del Express Entry o una cosa que es importante tenerla en cuenta cuando se recibe la invitación del Express Entry, y es que muchas veces para Canadian Experience Class ustedes saben que se tiene que tener 1 año de experiencia canadiense. Esos son 365 días. Sin embargo, cuando uno está en el pool, a veces el gobierno no calcula exactamente esos 365 días y envía una invitación hacia la persona. Si se recibe esa invitación y no se ha completado ese año completo laboral, lo más importante es no aceptar esa invitación y rechazarla, porque si se acepta, probablemente le van a rechazar la residencia porque no se han cumplido con las horas establecidas. Entonces es muy importante tenerlo en cuenta. Si se tiene la invitación, pero aún no se ha cumplido ese año que se tiene que tener para el Canadian Experience Class, toca rechazar la invitación y esperar para acumular ese tiempo para poder esta vez sí aceptar la invitación, porque es algo muy importante para tener en cuenta. También es fundamental tener en cuenta que el máximo de horas a la semana que se puede trabajar, pues no que se puede trabajar, pero que el gobierno va a revisar, son 30 horas a la semana. Porque ustedes saben también que 1 año en total son 1.560 y algo, no me acuerdo muy bien la cifra exacta, de horas que se tienen que cumplir. Y si uno trabaja 40, 50 horas a la semana, igualmente el máximo que se va a tener en cuenta de horas son 30 horas a la semana. Entonces es necesario tenerlo en cuenta también para poder saber más o menos cuánto tiempo llevo yo trabajando y si ya cumplo 1 año para poder aceptar la invitación del Canadian Experience Class en caso de recibirla. Entonces eso es más que todo una aclaración o algo que se tiene que tener en cuenta. Y ahora lo que vamos a estar haciendo es respondiendo todas las preguntas en español y en inglés, así que si tienen alguna pregunta pueden hacerla en nuestros canales de YouTube, Instagram y Facebook.
Thank you, Laura. So let's jump into the question answer. If you're watching a recording of this is the part where we just answer everyone's live comments and questions on our YouTube channel. Remember, we won't really see the Instagram, Facebook comments or questions live, offline later on. Right now, we can only see the YouTube questions and comments. So let's start here. Nasrin Ibrahimi says, hello, Reza and Laura. Hello back, Nasrin, right, Laura?
Yes.
Sohrab Ruzve is saying hi back. Thank you for joining us, Sohrab. And remember, folks, when we mention your name and or comment or question, please press the like button so we know you're there. That's the only way we can communicate with you live. Elahed Montaseri says hi back. Mahdi Al Aboudi says hi. Hi, Mahdi. Nice to see you. Sohrab and Santiago is there. Hi, Santiago. Sohrab Ruzbe says, my favorite topic, federal skilled worker. It is everyone's favorite topic these days. Yes, I must agree. Elahe says, I really enjoy your live sessions. Thank you, Elahe. We know you're enjoying the show right now, live. Lucia Flores says, hello. Hello back, Lucia. Saurabh says, I have tried my best not to miss any so far. I think he means our live. So thank you, Saurabh, for that supporting comment. Let's look at some others. Madi says, yeah, he's got his icon, the emoji. Kevin Castellino says, hi. Hello back, Kevin. Kevin says, work permit from Kuwait. Any update? And we've already responded to that, Kevin, in the chat, that we don't expect any serious updates and we don't expect improved processing times for work permit applications from the GCC region, which is the Gulf Cooperation Council, which includes UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Egypt, and a bunch of more. Maybe I missed a few. What do we have here? So Madi El Aboudi has some questions. Can I apply for visitor visa while I have a valid one which will expire within less than 1 month? Please note that I already applied. And our answer is, they will not, you can apply, but they will not process the application or render a decision until your original or previous visitor visa has expired. Okay, so you can apply, but they will hold the decision until the expiry of your current visitor visa, okay, which will expire as you mentioned. So Mahdi says, I attached a new US visitor visa and vaccination report to the application. I applied from Saudi Arabia and I will try to enter Canada before the expiration of the current visa. In this case, if I get an approval for the new temporary resident visa application, should I leave to Saudi for the passport request? You don't have to be in Saudi 100%. You could potentially courier it and somebody will, hand it over to the embassy there. So that's one option you have. Or can I get it from the US? That could be, depending if you can go to the US. But again, if you're a visitor in the US, I don't believe you can actually apply for a Canadian visa from the US. In case my new application got refused, and would that have a negative effect if I apply for a study permit from inside of Canada through pathway route? It could, but if you're already inside of Canada, I would say not as much. If you're outside of Canada, yes, it can definitely affect it. So be careful. Each case would be different. So we have some other questions, Laura, as well. Sohrab Ruzbe says, I wonder what backlog are they taking care of right now, since the express entry pool is just getting cramped up and keeps adding. Almost 196,000 applicants in the express entry pool, with over 14,935 of them above 481 points. Great comment and question, Sohrab. So remember, a lot of these people also have provincial nominations that will give them more than 480 points. And of course, there's some applicants that have Canadian experience and other factors which allow them to have 500, 550 points and more. So that was an interesting comment and question. Another one by Lucia Flores. So she says, my inland sponsorship was received in March 2021 and returned in September 2021 because we did not include a document in the application. I'm reapplying online, but my passport is expiring in June 2022. Will this affect my application? No, because a passport is a travel document. Under a sponsorship application, inland, spousal, part or common law, or sponsorship, you are applying for permanent residency. The passport is not the most important document for that application. And the passport is only relevant if you're traveling and for a travel visa. For example, a visitor visa, study permit, or even a work permit, but not for a permanent residency. So good question, right, Laura?
Yes.
Do you see any questions on Instagram or Facebook?
Yes, I saw an interesting question made by Nilo Farms. She's asking, she is asking that. Does that mean related with about we're talking for the express entry, the 1 year experience? She asks that. Does that mean if someone worked 44 hours a week, they filled up earlier than 1 year to be eligible? I didn't get you.
Yeah, so if you're working in Canada and you're gaining 40 hours a week work experience, the Canadian government for express entry and most other programs will only calculate a maximum of 30 hours a week. So that additional 10 hours a week that you're working per week will not count towards your 1 year work experience. They will count towards making money, but not towards immigration. Makes sense? Right, Laura?
Yes, makes sense.
Okay. You want to explain that in Spanish as well, just in case?
Yeah, I want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Tenemos una pregunta en Instagram realizada por Nilo Farm SL y ella tiene como una confusión en cuanto a lo que estamos hablando antes sobre el Express Entry del año de experiencia laboral y ella está preguntando si alguien trabaja 44 horas a la semana va a poder completar ese año antes de que se cumpla el año, porque uno tiene que cumplir unas horas específicas y la respuesta es no. O sea, el máximo de horas que registra Canadá a la semana es de 30 horas. Si la persona trabaja 40 horas a la semana, esas 10 horas adicionales no se van a tener en cuenta porque el máximo son 30 horas. Entonces, es algo que toca que toca analizar y que, porque es importante saber que lo máximo que se va a tener en cuenta son las 30 horas.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. Another interesting question here. Pulkit Garg says, hello. I applied for my temporary resident visa after I got my postgraduate work permit from inside of Canada in December of 2021. Any thoughts on how long it is going to take? I want to visit home for emergency purposes. Pulkit, great question. We've had clients that have waited 9 months or more during 2021 to receive a visitor visa from inside of Canada. So your application could be processed in 3 months, 6 months, or 10 months. So be ready in any, let's say, for anything that could potentially happen, right? Laura, do you want to explain that in Spanish as well?
I don't think that.
Okay, no worries, no worries. We'll skip to the next one. So here's a good question. I like that question. Tanyesha, smile first. I like that name. Press the like button if you're there, Tanyesha. So hi Reza. So this new update I have been hearing about regarding the 36-month wait for express entry federal skilled worker. Are you saying we should still go ahead and submit a profile despite the wait communicated? So keep in mind, Tanyesha, that applying to enter the pool into express entry, there's no restrictions. The pool will just increase in size. Express entry federal skilled worker backlog will be processed in the first 6 months of this year, and new applications will potentially be processed towards the second half of this year, we hope. If express entry is a serious option for you, there should be nothing preventing you from entering. However, if you're rushed to come to Canada and you're outside of Canada, potentially you could come in as a student or under another work program and have a profile, a valid profile and express entry while you're here as a student or worker, right? So express entry could be an option for you, but it doesn't mean that under federal skill program you would actually be selected or invited to apply within the next few months. The point is you can get into the pool, but don't expect immediate processing, because as I said, they're struggling with the old applications. We don't believe the new applications will be started till second half of this year. And yes, there will be delayed processing. Whether it's 36 months or not, nobody knows. Even the government doesn't know. So don't believe everything the government tells you. So I hope that's answered that question. Laura, was that okay? Do you want to let the Spanish viewers know?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Ok, tenemos una pregunta realizada por Tanisha Smile First y ella nos está preguntando acerca de una nueva actualización que ha estado escuchando sobre la espera de 36 meses para la entrada rápida al Federal Skill Worker. Entonces la pregunta es, ¿estás diciendo que aún debemos seguir adelante y enviar un perfil a pesar de la espera comunicada? Y pues lo que nos estaba diciendo Reza es que probablemente pues aún puede que digan 36 meses, pero la verdad es que ni siquiera el gobierno canadiense lo sabe, así que se puede enviar la aplicación y todo, pero ya la situación o el problema es esperar que se reciba la invitación, porque si primero están teniendo en cuenta las aplicaciones pasadas, así que ahora sí se envía la aplicación y se esté en el pool, no se sabe cuándo se va a recibir la invitación para esas nuevas aplicaciones, así que se puede realizar la inscripción y todo, pero igualmente no se sabe si son para hacerlos de espera 36 meses, si va a ser menos, si va a ser más, nadie lo sabe.
Thanks, Laura. Appreciate it. So, to wrap up, Maddie, by the way, says, Laura, I like to communicate with one of the education advisors at Ingwe. I've sent an email a few days ago. So, Laura, hopefully you can respond to Maddie. So, Maddie, you will expect a response within the next day or so. Thanks for your patience. Pukit Garg says, thank you so much for your response. No problem. Maddie says, thank you very much. No problem. You're welcome. And thanks for everyone that's joined our live today. And remember, we're back here on Thursday at what time, Laura?
Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Yes, Thursday at 9 a.m. Every Tuesday at 5 p.m. And this Thursday, we're going to do predictions, IRCC program predictions for 2022, which means we're going to go through all the predictions we have for all the major immigration programs for this year by the IRCC in terms of changes, cancellations, eligibility, and potentially new programs that could be introduced. So it will be an interesting session. If you're interested, please join us Thursday, 9 a.m. North America Standard Eastern Time. And I'm going to sign off now. Laura, you can also let our Spanish viewers explain the upcoming session, and then we will sign off together.
Okay. Ya estamos dando cierre a este directo. Vamos a realizar otro directo el jueves a las 9 de la mañana, hora Colombia, hora Canadá. Y ya saben, pueden estar en ese directo. El tema de esta ocasión. Reza, can you repeat me the topic for the...
It's IRCC immigration predictions for 2022, which covers changes, upcoming changes and new programs for this year by the Canadian Immigration Department, IRCC.
Ok, entonces el tema para el jueves a las 9 de la mañana va a ser predicciones del IRCC en 2022. Se van a hablar sobre nuevas actualizaciones, nuevos programas, antiguos programas, entonces se va a tener todo en cuenta todos esos programas y todas esas aplicaciones para hacer unas predicciones, así que no se lo pierdan porque el tema va a estar muy interesante. Ya saben, jueves a las 9 de la mañana en Instagram, YouTube y Facebook para todas las personas que estén interesadas.
Thanks, Laura. So we will sign off, everyone. Thank you. See you on Thursday. Thank you, Laura. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
The same. Ciao a todos. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye, everyone.